How's everybody doing tonight? Good. I want to thank Matt for asking me to come and share my testimony, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and letting me share my testimony with you. My name is Tim, and I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ.
Hey, Tim.
I am also a living and breathing testimony to the mercy and grace of a powerful God, because I have lived through the ultimate heartbreak any parent could live through, and it's the needless death of a child. Brooke was struggling, my daughter Brooke was struggling with chemical dependency. I don't know how long she had struggled, because she made real sure that she kept that hid from me. She did not want me to know at all. And the way that I found out was when things got too bad with her living with her mother, she moved in with me for about the last year, and I discovered some stuff that let me know. I was being lied to, I was being cheated, I was being manipulated, stole from, and treated in ways that no parent should ever be treated by a child. But I refused to look over it, because I didn't want to admit that my daughter had a problem with addiction. I didn't want to admit she had any kind of problem at all. But she did. Brooke didn't start out to be an addict. It started innocently with some prescription pain pills. She had a condition called ulcerative colitis and some other problems, and she was in quite a bit of pain. And as she got a little bit older and had to come off the insurance that I had her on, her mom found out that it was easier to take her to the emergency room and get some prescription pain pills. And that's where it started. The attending physician would write a prescription for 7 or 8 days worth, tell her to go get it filled and follow up with her doctor, but she'd take the pain pills, and then the next week she'd be back to the emergency room. Teresa, my ex-wife, Brooke's mother, she started developing back pains and problems herself, and she would go to the emergency room for pain pills. She never went once that I know of went to the doctor. Eventually, both of them were put on the list of suspected abusers, and they couldn't go and get anything stronger than an aspirin. After that, Brooke had some friends that helped them find a little bit stronger, and that's where both Brooke and her mother were introduced to morphine. Brooke took it a little bit farther and found out about heroin. I saw the pain and suffering that Brooke was going through and knew I could do nothing to help her. It was enough to tear me apart. My daughter was alone in her addiction, and I was alone watching her suffer. Chemical dependency is extremely difficult to overcome. I have witnessed the pain, the sickness, the irritability, and the total transformation of my daughter into something unrecognizable. I did not know my daughter living in my own home. I've seen my granddaughter cry when the EMTs and police showed up to help her overdosing. Please don't take my mommy to jail. Please don't. Tears coming down her face. And I would look at Brooke, and she just had a cold stare that she was looking right through her daughter. She didn't care. Well, she cared. The addict didn't. Brooke has even blamed me for her addiction and blamed me for overdosing. She made the mistake of accusing me in front of a policeman, and I won't use the same language he did, but he basically told me, he said, that's a bunch of nonsense. He looked at her and he said, don't you ever accuse anybody for your problem, that you were going to get high and just needed an excuse. And that was one of the many times that I had seen her. She overdosed at my house probably 6 or 7 times. And every time I would ask her, how much more? How much more? When are you going to change? What can I do? And same story. I need help. I need to get some. And that was it. But from observing the pain and suffering my daughter went through, I realized it takes a very strong person to admit that they have a problem. It's a step never to be taken lightly. And that's why I say to every person here, regardless of what you're working through or dealing with, to me, you are an incredibly strong person. And you have my complete respect and complete admiration and my deepest respect, because I know that what you've done is hard to do. Brooke was the second child of ours. She had a brother that was 2 years older and a brother that was 2 years older, or 2 years younger. She was an incredible piano player, and she used her piano playing and singing for God. She played, and I played bass guitar, and her mom played drums. And I've seen Brooke just during the service just get up off the piano and walk down in the altar and start praying with somebody. And she was there to help anybody that she could. As I was saying earlier, I still run into people that know Brooke. And they tell me what an incredible girl she was, how much she helped them. And that right there is enough to let me know that what I'm doing here tonight, sharing my testimony, writing the books, doing whatever I can do to talk to people, she's letting me know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Her ultimate goal was one day to marry a preacher and work for God with him. Even with all this in her life, it wasn't enough to free her. During the last few months of her life, I never saw her smile. I never heard her laugh. Brooke Ashley Webb was not strong enough to shake the demon that had her bound. Although she finally admitted having a problem to me, that was as far as it would go. I pleaded for her to get help. I looked into the lifeless eyes of my daughter and spoke from my heart. My daughter listened to my pleas, yet the addict laughed in my face. Brooke didn't want to do anything to hurt me, but the addict didn't care who it hurt. She didn't want Daddy to know about the pain that she was going through. She didn't want me to be upset. She always wanted me to be very proud of her, and I was. But the addict didn't care whether I knew it, how proud I was, or anything like that. I was very, very proud of my daughter. I still am. But I didn't know the addict. I love my daughter while hating the addict. It's hard to separate the love for a child when they both share the same body. The hatred was so strong in me for what she had done. But then I put my arms around her, and I couldn't be mad at her. On Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018, at 3:50 in the afternoon, 2 Blount County detectives showed up at my house, which that had become common occurrence. They were always coming out there to question her, to search her car, to pick her up. So, I mean, you know, no big deal. They showed up. But this time I knew something was different, because when they come to the door, first detective asked me if I was Tim Webb, and I said, yes. He said, do you have a daughter named Brooke that's struggling from addiction? I said, yeah. And that's when he proceeded to tell me that Brooke had passed away from an overdose of heroin that was laced with fentanyl. The reason why I am here sharing my testimony, and I know not many fathers do what I do, but the reason why I'm here instead of Brooke's mother was 6 months before Brooke passed away, her mother overdosed from prescription pain pills and morphine. Now, not only was I dealing with an addict daughter who was suffering, mourning the loss of her mother, I was also dealing with an addict mourning her mother, but feeling very guilty because Brooke was the one who gave her the shot that took her out of this world. Both Brooke and her mother hid their problems from me, but for different reasons. Brooke didn't want me to be upset with her, and her mother didn't want me to call the police on her. After one of the police told me about Brooke's passing, I sat there on the couch for what seemed like hours. During this time, I went from every emotion known to man. I went from shock to denial to loneliness to anger to finally hatred. I wanted to run away, yet I wanted to crawl back in bed and stay there. I remember being so mad, I wanted to hit something. I really wanted to hit the detective for telling me what he had just told me, but I just come in from work. I was tired, and there was two of them with guns and tasers, so I gave them a reprieve. I didn't jump on them. I realized this would do no good anyway, and it'd just get me in trouble. I have never felt such a strong anger as I did toward anybody at that moment. They seemed to spend a long time talking with me, but I knew it was just a few minutes. After one of the officers spoke, I come to the realization that they were simply doing their job. This was, your child is dead, goodbye. That was basically the story. And before they left, I was able to muster up enough strength that I actually shook their hand and thanked them for letting me know. And I told them that I would not have their job for any amount of money. I do not want to do that. After they left, I found out something. I did not realize the amount of tears a person can shed at one time, or the amount of pain anybody can endure at one given time. I found out then that it's a lot more than anybody could ever imagine. Many times since that day, I have been asked if I got angry at Brooke or at God. The answer I give each one of them that ask me that question is the same answer. I tell them no. I did not get mad at Brooke, and I did not get mad at God, because number one, Brooke was suffering from a disease, and she couldn't help herself. A person's not going to heal themselves from a disease unless they have some kind of healing intervention. Amen. So how could I get mad at her? Ephesians, I did not tell you that I had two scriptures, but anyway, it's all right. Ephesians 1:11 says, in whom we also have obtained an inheritance, being predestined according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. I couldn't get mad at God either. I had prayed for a long time. For the last year, I prayed, God, please heal my daughter. Please take the addiction away from her. And I got desperate. And I said, God, whatever it takes, heal my daughter. On Wednesday, May 23rd, my daughter received her ultimate healing. She woke up that morning an addict. She went to sleep completely healed. So how could I get mad at God? He answered my prayer. Wasn't the way I wanted it. Wasn't the way I'd expected it. But it was the way he wanted to do it. And as far as I can remember, God has never asked my permission or my advice for anything that he's wanted to do. God works all things out through his glory, his own glory. Over the next few weeks, it was though I was looking at this world through, just trying to see, but with blinded eyes. I could see nothing, and I truly wanted to see nothing except my job and my home. I wanted to be either place or nowhere else. Wherever I was, it didn't matter. I had a false sense of urgency that wanted me to be somewhere else. It didn't matter where I was supposed to go. I just needed to go. I was in a very deep depression, and I didn't care. At that point in time in my life, my life had absolutely no meaning. If I lived, I lived. If I died, I simply died. No big deal. Who cares? I'm over it. One evening after I got home from work, my sister called me and asked me if I would be willing to talk with a lady that had lost her son. And I said, yeah, I'll talk to anybody. And so it wasn't about 30 minutes, Jan called me and talked to me and told me her story. And we talked on the phone for probably 30 minutes. And she invited me to come to Celebrate Recovery. And I had been to Celebrate Recovery one time, but the big one over in Knoxville. And I didn't see how. Brooke had the problem, not me. I wasn't struggling, or I wasn't suffering from any problems, but I found out I was in for a huge surprise. After thinking this place was not designed to help people like me, I found out this place is designed for people exactly like me. I promised Jan I would be there the next week. The following week I promised her again. This went on about 3 or 4 weeks, and she never fussed at me for not showing, but she didn't give up. She just kept on. And I thought, well, why not? Let's go. Let's see what it's like. Just, at least get out of the house for a little bit. So I came and I sat through large group right here in this room. I sat through large group. Then we broke down into small groups, and it hurt like you wouldn't believe how bad it hurt for me to share why I was there. It took me my whole time of about 15 minutes to get out probably 15 words. I couldn't talk. I was blubbering. I think I went through about a half a box of Kleenex that night to talk about Brooke's death to total strangers. But I found out that this place right here is where my healing would begin. Amen. Soon after I started coming to celebrate recovery, I started feeling a passion from God regarding police officers. Before this time, the only time interaction I ever had with them was, like I said, when they were picking up Brooke, when they were coming out to the house, or Brooke was the one that had the problem, and I found out that I was the one that was avoiding them. I just didn't want to be around them. But God started dealing with me, and now, even to this day, I walk up to police officers and stick out my hand. Well, first thing they do is step back and put their hand on their gun. Like, what's getting ready to happen? And I'm like, no, please, let me explain. I tell them about Brooke. I tell them I want to shake their hand, and that I'm praying for them to go home safe to their family every night. It's amazing how police officers react to that. Some of them couldn't even talk. Some of them teared up, but they all thanked me for what I said. Isaiah 40:31 says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall rise up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Through much prayer and waiting on God, I now seem to be looking at the world through a new set of eyes. I can see more clearly now than ever before. I've totally learned to wait on God, for it's through God that we all receive our strength. Amen. I cannot nor will not say that losing Brooke was a blessing, but I can definitely say that through her passing, I can see blessings before me. I can see that God has had his hands on me completely through the whole time. I don't know why, but he was merciful enough that he did. One day in his time, he will reveal his purpose, true purpose. Until then, I will keep talking to people about the dangers of drugs and offer my help in any way possible and wait on God's guidance. The phrase, "that which does not kill us," tends to make us stronger. It is a very true statement. I will never be on the sidelines again watching life pass me by. I will use the strength God has given me through this ordeal to be in the field helping, working to reach as many people as I possibly can. I will continue to play the hand that I have been dealt. Too many people are dying from this problem, and it's time to say enough is enough. Amen. This elite club, which I have recently joined, it's a club that don't have a name, but it's a club that I call the Club of the Grieving Parent. It's a club that I wish no parent could ever join because the dues are extremely too high. Unfortunately, new members are joining every day. I've given several interviews concerning the loss of Brooke, and I will continue to do everything that I possibly can to stand as an advocate against drug use and the dangers that are hidden within it. I will no longer consider myself an outsider. I will not settle for just getting by. From this day forward, I will consider myself an overcomer. Every person in this room should never settle for just getting by. It is my sincere belief that each of us here are truly overcomers and warriors of God. There is no stronger person in this world as someone in recovery, for they have been to the dark side, fought the demon, and lived to tell about it. Every one of us has a story that needs to be told. This world, even down to this city, is full of people struggling with problems, each one facing demons of their own. And they are simply needing somebody to reach out to them and lend them an ear or whatever they need. These people need to know, just like Brooke needed to know, there are only two ways out of addiction. Number one, by either admitting and getting help, or number two, death. As long as there is breath in the lungs, there's always hope. Drugs don't play nice. They don't play fair. Then they play for keep. There are way too many people dying from this epidemic. We should all be willing to be used as messengers of God and let people know that He wants no one to struggle. Our God is a loving and merciful God, and will deliver us from any bondage that holds us if we let Him. God will never force Himself on anyone. We must admit that at first we are powerless to change certain things in our life without intervention from without intervention of our higher power. Hard to say. The scars that each one of us carry shouldn't be hidden in vain. We should wear them as badges of honor. For it's these same scars that let people know the battles we have had and the battles we have won. It's been 3.5 years since I lost my daughter. My life has been changed, not for better, not for worse. My future is forever altered. And yet through it all, I will continue to give my God the glory. He now controls every step that I take. I have finally found the calling that He has on me, and I will do His will. Through all I have been through, I have realized that no matter what comes or goes, God is still God, and God is always good. Amen. My prayers are for each of us here tonight. May He grant each of us peace in our heart and the determination to stay the course. I have written a couple books. I've been told that some people like to talk to help themselves heal. I found out that writing helps me heal. And each book that I write has got a poem in it. And the first poem that I wrote, I was sitting at a blank computer screen and I couldn't think of anything to write. And it felt like a hand was on my shoulder. And I turned around, there was nobody there, and I felt that hand back on my shoulder. And like I said, I'm not into clairvoyance, I'm not into believing in ghosts or anything, but I knew the feeling and realized that it was the same kind of feeling that I had from Brooke when she'd walk up behind me. And Brooke was an incredible poet, songwriter, and she helped me write a poem. And the first poem was called Feed Not the Demon, which is in the first book. But not long after that, I feel in my heart that she sent me a message that basically said, hey, Daddy, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. You just need to go on. And I thought about it, and I thought, I can't let that go. I've got to do something with it. So, from what I feel came from Brooke, I'd like to share a poem with you. This poem is called Carry On With Life. Yeah. Some of you heard it, I know, and some of you not. But anyway, it goes, I am gone, but you are here, and oh, the pain you feel. I am happy, content, and free, and it's time for you to heal. The choice I made was not for you, but to free me from my strife. You must rise, get on your feet, and carry on with life. Life goes on for those around, and you must continue on your way. I know I will consume your thoughts throughout each and every day. Take rest in knowing I loved you so, and you were my strong tower. Pick up yourself, cry no more tears, and show your inner power. I know I left without saying goodbye, but that was not my call. Know that I'm not so far away, just behind the unseen wall. I know I will see you again one day, but until I do, take care. My life is gone, but please understand, life is not always fair. The hurt you know and the emptiness you have will one day come to an end. I'm waiting for you to join me here, just around the very next bend. You must continue on your way and help everyone you can. Please carry on with your life. I know you're that kind of man. You did all you could do for me, and I didn't see it at the time. My heart was so full of hurt and pain. My addiction made me blind. I know you love me with all your heart, and now you are full of strife. But it's time for you to pick up your dreams and carry on with life. And that's it, and I thank you all for letting me share my story with you.